Ever since the 16th century, Western civilization has been interested in science and the scientific method more than anything. We went from explaining pure mechanical interactions in the solar system using equations to explaining the human body, to explaining the human psychology. Lately, the scientist positivist movement has gained a lot of momentum, and evolutionary explanations of human behavior in particular have been attracting a lot of attention. While a lot of scholars are not especially fans of evolutionary psychology, this discipline managed to become popular in academia. Karl Popper has this very famous principle of falsifiability. It goes like this: if a scientific theory or hypothesis gives us testable and falsifiable results, there is no need to discredit it. We simply look around and see if the results it predicts are true, and as long as they are, we just accept it. The Big Bang, for example, is a theory accepted based on one of its results. That result is the redshift. Simply put, the Big Bang theory predicts the expansion of the universe. When electromagnetic radiation undergoes this expansion, an increase in its wavelength happens. We call that phenomenon the redshift. The good news is, we are able today to measure that phenomenon, and therefore we found one result of the Big Bang to be true. So we accept the Big Bang theory until proven false. And that's what we mean by Popper's falsifiability principle. Keep that in mind. Now, back to these evolutionary explanations of human behavior. Yes, they are actually just hypotheses, but they are hypotheses that predict some results. Yes, these results are not usually testable in a controlled environment, i.e., a laboratory, but many times they can expect some pretty decent implications that are verified in nature. Now, in this video, we're going to try and look at rape from an evolutionary psychology perspective. Now, we know that evolution of behaviors happens through different routes. We're not going into that here. But among those routes, there are two main ways that a behavior can manifest itself. One way is that the behavior itself be an adaptation to the environment, meaning that the behavior evolved for its own sake. The other way is that the behavior be a byproduct of another behavior. Here's an example. Hunting is a behavior that evolved in humans as an adaptation to the environment in which we evolved. We evolved to hunt so that we get food. What did we exactly evolve to hunt? Well, we evolved better vision, for example, and a bigger brain to process that vision. Today, we use that same vision to watch TV. Can we say that we evolved to watch TV? Well, no. Watching TV is merely a byproduct of better vision. The question is then, did rape evolve in humans as an adaptation in and of itself, or just a byproduct to another behavior? One way to hypothesize about this question is to look at other species. Rape exists in dragonflies, for example, and they have evolved a special penis for it. This tells us that rape in dragonflies evolved as an adaptation to the environment. Therefore, maybe it's safe to start by making the hypothesis that rape evolved in humans as an adaptation as well. Evolution is a lot of times deterministic, especially when species evolve in the same environment with the same constraints. But why would rape evolve as an adaptation? First, we need to understand that in humans, males compete against each other for sexual intercourse with females. It's up to the females to choose the right mate. Then rape would have evolved, in that case, to circumvent female choice We make the hypothesis that for a male who has limited access to mating, rape would allow the replication of his genes. The offspring of said male would also have a tendency to rape, and therefore more genes will be replicated, and so on and so on. We can definitely see how rape can evolve that way as an adaptation to environmental problems. Now, I know this is controversial, but it's essential for us to understand rape if we want to stop it from happening. Also, this is still a hypothesis. We still need to verify it. Now, remember Popper's falsifiability principle? Yes, we'll use it here. This hypothesis is able to make us two predictions that we're going to test. The first prediction is that males who have less access to sexual intercourse would be more susceptible to rape. A study made by Randy Thornhill and Nancy Thornhill shows us exactly that males of lower socioeconomic status are overrepresented in the rapist population. We also know that women tend to choose their mates based on, well, you guessed it, socioeconomic status. Another study made by the Eisenhower Foundation in 1969 found that women of lower income areas are more prone to be raped. Couple that with the fact that in 82% of reported rapes, the rapist and the victim come from the same vicinity. Bingo! The first prediction is verified. The second prediction is that if rape is an adaptation to increase offspring and circumvent a woman's choice, then rapists should have a tendency to choose women of higher productive value. That is, women in their late teens and early 20s. This tendency has been indeed statistically verified by the Thornhills in 1993. Also, if we assume that psychological pain has evolved to protect us from the causes of that pain, which is not a bad assumption, I guess, we should predict that women in their peak fertility should be more psychologically devastated by such an event. Yet again, this prediction has been verified by a study made in 1991 on the psychological pain of rape victims. I will put all of these studies in the description below if you want to look deeper into them. I find this to be incredibly fascinating. We have somewhat proved that rape is probably an adaptation, or at least that it's more likely to be an adaptation in and of itself than a byproduct of another evolved behavior or mechanism. Now that we know all of this information, what can we do about rape? We are going to try and derive an ought from an is here, as we always do. We can agree that rape is ethically wrong. We don't need to go into a whole moral debate over that, although we can. But more reasonably, the question is, what can we do to stop rape, or at least diminish it? Obviously, there are no simple answers to that sort of questions. Most of what I laid in this video comes from studies made by Dr. Randy Thornhill and his wife. Thanks to these very controversial studies, we can understand rape a little better today, outside of the emotional turmoil. I understand that condemning rape is important, but it's the job of the scientific research to make hypotheses and test them, no matter how intuitively unacceptable and morally reprehensible these hypotheses are. That said, today we have data. We have data that says that men with lower socioeconomic status are more likely to rape, and that can constitute a route to pursue. Reducing socioeconomic differences should lead to lesser rape cases. Again, this is in no way an easy answer. Different people will argue about different ways to reduce these differences. A libertarian would praise the benefits of the free market, while a Socialists will go for more taxes. The truth lays probably somewhere in the middle, or maybe it doesn't. On the individual level, I guess it's sadly always reasonable for women to avoid sketchy places and unsafe situations. Feminists have always told us teach men not to rape, don't teach women where to go or what to wear. Fair enough. And this is beautiful if it could be done, and social pressure certainly tames the raping tendencies of some portion of the male population. But it is in no way enough, and it never will be. From what we understand, rape is deeply rooted in our culture and maybe even our DNA. I'm not claiming we should accept it, that would be the naturalistic fallacy. We are very aggressive by nature, for example. It doesn't mean we constantly act on it. In fact, we managed to drastically reduce wars during the last centuries. Maybe we can do that for rape as well. Who knows?